Ryan Neiman, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM and AM 630. WMAL.
7:07 on the Morning Majority. Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, Mary Catherine Ham here. Did we all three play public school sports, by the way?
I did. I know that.
No, had no gift for athletics as a young man.
the man who's like 6'8" over here.
Listen, if they wanted me to play basketball, but then they had me try out and they said, "Son, thank you for coming today."
Really?
There's the door.
You can't teach height, and he's got the height.
I had the height. I didn't have the gift.
Well, Neiman and I both proud public
That's
school
right.
athletes, and we're talking to Virginia Delegate Bob Bell today about a bill dubbed the Tebow Bill in the Virginia House that would allow homeschool students to compete or to try out for public school sports teams. How's it going, sir?
Good morning.
Hey, tell me a little bit about this bill and where it is in the process right now.
Okay, so the bill is up for its first vote on the floor of the House today, and it has to pass two if it's to pass. If it passes, it will go to the Senate. And you summarized it fine. What it does is it allows homeschoolers who are in good standing with the homeschool statute, which means they're passing the tests or getting their approval otherwise, to try out for the local high school sports teams.
Okay, and such that they are, what are opponents' objections to this?
Well, the reason they can't is there's something called the Virginia High School League, the VHSL, and the High School League has a rule that says you got to be a full-time student at the high school at which you would attend. We understand that we would have to be at the high school we would be attending otherwise, but think that if you're a homeschooler and your parent thinks that's right for your education, that you ought to be able to try out at the local public school.
All right. What about, because I played sports and I coached sports at the high school level. The fact that if you go to school, you're there, you represent the school, a place where you're at for probably 10 hours out of the day, you get to school early, you have to put in a lot of work, and it's, a place where you're kind of galvanized together because that's the building you go to every single day, and then you have somebody from the outside who just comes in for practice and for games. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on this issue. So, I mean, I still feel it's maybe unfair to some of the kids who actually go to school there, and somebody may lose a spot out to somebody who doesn't go there. I get the whole tax issue, but, I mean, there is a camaraderie there that you're representing the school, and if you're not actually attending that school, are you really representing the school?
Okay, well, a couple things. First, that wall is already breached. We let virtual students participate. There's a dual enrollment program where your kid doesn't even have to go to the school. In other words, doesn't have to step foot in the school, takes classes at the community college or some other place. Those kids are allowed to try out for the high school football team. The second thing is, especially in the smaller, and I know that you all are in Northern Virginia, but there are smaller communities where you have one high school that represents the entire county. Those kids already, they're in scouts together. They work together at the food line. They already are sort of teammates, and they play together up through the 8th grade. And in fact, sometimes they play past that. But then all of a sudden it gets to be game time, and they're not allowed to compete. And there's a nice young man who said he's on a rowing team, and he's been part of the team forever, and he rows with his teammates. And then when the time comes for their competition, the coach says, "All right, now you can't participate, it seems to us that these are public schools. They represent the community. If these kids just want to be part of that, when Friday night lights come on, they get a chance to play, and they just want to try out. They're not trying to steal any slots. They don't want quotas. If you met them, I think you'd be real impressed with them. They're squared away young people. And I think, frankly, that if this passes 3 years from now, we'll wonder what all the fuss was about.
Well, let me ask you this question, because let's say that you're a gifted athlete, coming up, let's say, through the middle schools, and you're looking like you might have some talent, but you look at that high school that's in your cluster, and you say, man, they haven't got anything athletically going on. They're not a very good football team. So your parents take you out and homeschool you, so then you can shop around and go to a better school. Is that something you're worried about?
No, you cannot. You have to participate in the geographic area to which you would be an attendee. Now, your parents could move, just like they can, and we hear of parents moving their family literally just to go to the right public school. But if your parents don't move, you cannot attend outside the attendance area.
All right, what if you go to a private school, and the private school doesn't have a football team, and you'd really like to play football? Can you then say, hey, well, the homeschoolers, they can play on the football team. My private school doesn't have one. My parents are paying taxes. Is that the next step here?
Well, if so, it's for somebody else. This is for the homeschoolers. This bill does not address private schooling, only the people. And for what it's worth, it doesn't address the homeschoolers that are religiously exempt. There's a group of homeschoolers who want to be completely outside sort of the rules of the school board. This is not that group. These are the kids that get tested every year or get a special superintendent's approval by giving him a portfolio. But there's certain testing requirements. If they don't meet the testing requirements, they can't do it. But the goal would be, if your parents think the right thing for you is to homeschool and you're meeting all the requirements the state puts down, we're going to say you have a chance to try out at the local public school.
How many kids do you think this would this affect?
They estimate there's about 32,000 homeschoolers. They are more young than old. More kids want to go to this, high school than be homeschooled, and more parents let them. And so it's about 6,000 homeschool kids in the high school age brackets. So it's a drop in the bucket. I mean, this is a comparatively small number. It's not like they're going to have 5 homeschoolers on the basketball team taking away the 5 starter slots. On the other hand, athletics, and I was not. I was listening to you, the lead-in.
Right.
I did not play, but I get it. I mean, it teaches you leadership and teamwork, and it's good for the body. The kids want to do it. I mean, there's a reason why they want to do it, and it's because the high schools have been so successful. And we had this nice young man. He's actually got a soccer scholarship, so he can really play. He said, "Yeah, but I've never had a chance to represent my community on Friday night, and I would have preferred to play football." By the way, is what he said. Mm-hmm. And it just seems, his parents found an alternate route in the country. In some of the areas I represent down near Charlottesville, there is literally no other option. And in Flavanna County, there is not a single school in Flavanna County except for Flavanna County High School. So if you want to play sports, especially big team sports, even if your parents are really ambitious about it, they cannot find a lacrosse team or a football team.
I read the quote from that 17-year-old who's going to guest play soccer at UVA. So he's obviously a great soccer player if he's playing at UVA.
Student too.
And a great student, right, obviously. But then I was thinking, well, he said he wanted to represent his state. But if he's going to play for the University of Virginia, he actually has to go to school at the University of Virginia.
That's right.
So he can't be homeschooled. I guess there's really no other option there, but he still has to be a student at the University of Virginia to play at the University of Virginia.
Well, having taken on the football coaches in this battle, that's tough enough. I'll leave the NCAA issues to other people.
Well, that's now a congressional issue.
And I will say this: part of it is he'll be 18; he can make his choices for himself. These are students, I think most of them agree to do it, but their parents are the ones pulling them out. And they say, and homeschooling used to be sort of my mother did it. It was seen as a way to sort of isolate in both directions. They wanted to be free, and the public schools were happy to have them gone. Now, it's just not that way. You get kids going back and forth. You have parents taking kids out from middle school but putting them back in high school. You've got kids who they struggle in 10th grade, so the parents take them out. I just think it has become much more mainstream and much less of a wall.
Right.
And you see parents, and I think we're headed in that direction where you say, gosh, the public schools offer some things my kid needs, but he needs the additional oversight for any number of reasons. He's a knucklehead, or he was bullied, or I don't like the values, or all the reasons people do it. And we ought to do everything we can to promote it. It is academically proven to be very successul. Again, 32,000 parents are doing it. It's something we ought to try to promote rather than make harder.
Chances in the Senate?
Gosh, we don't know. Step by step, we got it out. We got it out of committee for the first time in its history. So we're further than we've ever been, and we've got the floor vote today. It should be very close. If it passes twice, it goes to the Senate.
Delegate Robert Bell, thank you so much for your time.